Hello there, welcome to my hobby bench. My name is Ken, and today we're going to continue working on our M1A2 Abrams. So let's get into it. So as you can see here, when we last left off, we had our tank base coated. Now I've gone back and I've cleared up those blemishes that we had on the bottom and on the side. And I think I'm ready to move on. So in this episode, we're going to look at painting all our other parts. We got the machine guns and the tow cables, antennas. We can look at putting all those on here, and then we'll look at painting the figure as well. So I'm going to clear off my work area here, and I'll move all these other parts over to the spray booth, get them base coated, and we'll be right back. So here we are at our spray booth, and we're gonna paint the machine guns and this piece here for the loader's machine gun, his mount. I'm gonna paint those all in a gunmetal color. In this case, I'm using one from Viejo. This is part of their metal color range, and we'll see how this turns out. So I'm giving it a good mix. Put some in my color cup. There we go. Not a whole lot in there, but there's not a whole lot of stuff to spray. So, put my color cap on and give it a bit of a spray. Well, it's too much air pressure. So, there we go, a little bit better. So we'll start off with this part here. Let's see how this turns out. Cut to some air. Hope it dry off. Okay, put that one up to dry. We'll go on to our machine guns. That and our loader's machine gun. I'll put that back on and I will come back and show you how they look when they're done. So here we have our gunmetal parts. They just need to be detailed up with other parts that are on them, such as I guess it's like a mounting tray for the 50, as well as the mounting unit here for the loader's machine gun, and then a little bit of the desert sand on this little portion here that isn't the ring that goes around the loader's hatch. So we'll move on to painting our tow cables, then our antennas. I'll come back when everything's kind of painted, and we'll look at detailing up all these parts. Okay, so we've got our parts all painted up now. I've got the antennas painted in steel, and for that I used the AK Extreme Metals, the steel color, and then for the antennas I just used rubber black to stay away from pure black. So I'm going to go now and kind of take these parts here and touch them up with the other paint colors they need, and then when we come back we'll look at painting up our commander. Okay, so now, as promised, we're going to work on our tank commander here, and we're going to paint him up by hand. So first thing is I'm going to do is I'm going to mount him onto a toothpick. So I'm going to take and I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom here, and then I'm going to take some super glue and just stick a toothpick in there just so I can kind of hold him up and work on him without having to handle him and get fingerprints all over. So I'm gonna get my drill out and I'll drill a hole and I'll come back and show you that. Okay, so now I have him mounted on a toothpick. I had drilled a little hole in the bottom, and actually I was lucky enough I didn't need to use super glue, as the toothpick actually fits in there pretty tight. I did snip the very very tip of the toothpick on. So this can go in there a little deeper like that. And jam it in there. So there we have it. So the colors they want us to use on this kit, or sorry, this figure, is they're calling out for XF62 olive drab. This paint is from Tamiya. They're calling out some XF59 desert yellow, also from Tamiya. Some XF57 buff from Tamiya. And some XF85, which is the rubber black from Tamiya. Sorry, yeah, the XF57 is the buff. Then they call for XF15, which is their flesh color. I'm not a big fan of that color, so what I'm going to use instead is some Viejo Panzer Aces colors. So I have the flesh base, which is their Panzer Aces 341. And then I have a highlight flesh 342. And this figure is only, 1/48 scale. He's not very big. And there's not a lot of flesh showing, so I may not even use the flesh highlights. We'll see how much detail I can get in there. And then finally, once the flesh has all been painted, I can put in there some, I have some Viejo Game Color Wash, and this is the flesh wash. And that'll kind of get into the crevices as a wash and highlight the dark areas. So I'm going to get some paints ready, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have my Tamiya colors mixed up with a little bit of paint retarder in each one. And I'm going to start working on the figure here. So with the olive drab, the XF62 here, I need to paint basically his jumpsuit. He also has a vest on as well for protection. That's going to be in the desert yellow color. So I'm going to start off, get myself some of this green paint. Try to stay in camera here and just paint away. And with the last painting video, when I was painting the bottom of the tank bay brush, I had mentioned that Tamiya colors, you can't paint over it too soon. So what I mean by that is this paint has retarder in it, so it's slower to dry, so you can move it around. But when you take normal Tamiya out of the paint pot, you start putting it on and it starts drying. If you come back over, it's almost, I almost want to say gummy, and kind of, it causes a lot of streaks. So without that, we can do a nice job like that. We'll go for his arms next, like that. Okay, I'm going to finish up painting the green, and then I'll come back and we'll carry on with the next color. Okay, so we have our olive drab on our tank commander here, and now I'm going to move on and paint his vest here with the desert yellow. We'll see how that goes. I'll start on the back here. Might have thinned that a little bit too much. I hope you can see that. There, like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carry on painting here, and I'll come back and show you the result. Okay, so with our figure's got his tan color on now, and his olive drab, I've been using the Ammo synthetic brush, number 2 size brush, to do all this painting. Now to get it on the flesh of the face, tucked in there in the helmet, I have an Ammo And I believe this is a 2-0 brush. So a lot smaller, and it'll help us get in there with the detail. So I'm going to start off with a little of our flesh base. Just come in and base the flesh. There we go. Just like that. So I'm gonna finish off doing the flesh base here. And it's a little bit closer to me, not to you on the camera. So I'm gonna pause here and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have the flesh now on our our tank commander. And we're gonna apply what's known as a wash. This is the flesh wash that we have here from Viejo. I just have a little bit put here. Just gonna drag a little bit off. You can see it is kind of transparent, if you can kind of see that. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to put it on his face and let it go to the recess areas like the mouth, the eyes. And I can even go on the hands here and get in between the fingers. Just like that. So again, I'm going to get the figure closer to me and carry on, and I'll come back when this is done. Okay, so there we have it. His face is all painted up now. And it's got that shaded highlight, or shaded wash from Viejo put in, and give that a moment to dry off, and then we'll come in and we'll do a little bit of the highlighting and see how that looks. Okay, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've kind of given it a few minutes to dry, and now we're going to come in here and we'll do a little bit of highlighting. So for this highlighting, I'm going to be using a different brush. This is the Tamiya size 0 brush. So I'm going to take a little bit of my light flesh color. I'm going to wipe it off a little bit and then load it up again. And then kind of wipe it off again, getting a little bit more paint into those bristles. Okay, so now that I kind of got that and wiped off, I'm going to do what's known as dry brushing. I'm just going to come across and I'm just going to flick the brush across his details. Just like that, just to kind of catch the highlights. There we go. Kind of catch the cheekbones. Okay, so what they're going to have us do here is come in and paint the helmet the color of buff. So I'm going to take some of my paint here. I'm just going to paint his helmet. Now the sides of the earpieces and the goggles are going to be painted on our rubber black. So here we are just doing our buff. Doesn't really matter if you get a little bit on the other parts. We're going to paint black here in a minute. So I'm going to come back in a minute here once I kind of got the whole thing covered, and we'll carry on. So here we have now this helmet painted. Now we're going to move on to our rubber black, and we're going to paint the earpieces and the goggles. So I'm going to move in nice and close and just start applying my paint. I am back to using the 2-0 brush for the small. For the helmet I went back to the larger brush. There we go. Hoping you guys are seeing that. So I'm going to continue on painting here, and we'll be right back. So here we have our figure. He's all completed now to, you know, a level of detail that I'm satisfied with. So basically what I got to do now is I got to let him dry, and then actually I'll be coming over him with a flat coat as well as the rest of the model a little later on, so he's not so shiny. So we're gonna move over to some other details here, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we have our tow cables here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of this MIG engine, fuel, and oil. So this is engine grime. It's MIG number 1407. And again, on the top it says engine grime. So what I'm going to do, I've already given this a bit of a mix. I'm going to take the paintbrush, and I'm just going to take my trusty number 2 here from Ammo again. I'm just going to get a little bit of this on my brush, wipe off a little extra. I'm just going to run this down across the middle of the tow cable. What this will do is kind of do the same thing we did with the wash on the face of the crew commander, and we're just going to add shadows in there, just to kind of, in this case, give it a bit of a oily, grimy kind of, you know, used kind of look for the tow cable, just so it's been oiled up and gotten dirty and cleaned and all that stuff. So we're just kind of doing that. So we'll grab our other one here now, and we'll just go in again and apply this like that. It's pretty simple. It's a good wash. You don't have to make yourself. You can make your own washes. I'll try to discuss that later if I get a chance in a different video. But there you have it. We've got our tow cables now kind of dirtied up. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got this on here. I'm gonna take a cotton swab and gently just kind of go across and pick up any extra of the wash. The rest of it should remain down in the low spots and kind of keep it looking really good. So there's that one. I'll get this one out. You can kind of see here that we are pulling off some of the extra wash. That again, like I said, will help us maintain that shadow look in the low spots. Another option you can do later too is come back over these with some graphite to kind of give it that metal look as well. You can find graphite in just a pencil or anything like that, like example like this. We're just gonna run it across there to add that kind of shiny metal look. So anyway, there we have our tow cables. When we come back, we'll work on some more. Okay, so now we're back up here, and we're working on the extra parts of the tank. So I have the machine guns, the 50 cal and the 7.62. So, and I've gone and I've used the sand color paint. I've done a couple light coats using my 2.0 brush here from Ammo, and I've just kind of done the parts that needed to be painted sand. And as well as this ammo box, it's got a bracket on the ammo box, and here's the one for the 50 caliber. You can see there. You can see this side here, oops, has not really been painted in this bracket area, but this side has. So I'm just gonna carry on using my thin brush here, and we will give it a little paint on that bracket like that. So just go around, do a couple coats on each one till they look good. And I am happy to announce there was a piece I had lost, the mounting part for the 50 caliber, which I had right up over here. I had dropped the tank at one point and it snapped off and disappeared into the carpet. After some searching today, I did find it after about 10 minutes of crawling around with the carpet. And there we have it. I have it painted up, and it's ready to be mounted on the vehicle. So I'm just going to give these a couple more coats after they have a few minutes to dry, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at doing some clear coating, and we'll look at putting some decals on. Okay, so next I'm going to take the 50 caliber ammo can, and you can see that we had some impressions of some ammunition here. So we're going to take that along with some of our AK Metallics brass, and we're going to paint those rounds just so you can see that they are what they're supposed to represent. So I've given this a bit of a shake. Just take a drop. It's a little bit too much. More than I'll need. Then I'll take my brush here. I had it cleaning. So this is that small ammo brush, the 2-0 again. And I'll put my magnifiers on. The old eyes aren't what they used to be. So then we'll just take this. Just make sure I'm on camera here. Just get these a little bit of a brush over with the brass. You gotta remember to breathe while doing this. There we go. Oh, look at that. Not even on camera. Or in focus. So. There we go. A little bit more in camera now and on focus. Just trying to get all the parts that are black in there from the primer covered up. There we go. Just like that. There we go. So now it looks like we have some bullets. There we go. Just like that. The ammo can here for the 7.62 actually has the lid on it, so no rounds can be seen. So we'll move on to the next part and look at doing our clear coat. So here's kind of our options for spraying a clear coat on our vehicle here. So you could do things such as a spray can, like this is Tamiya clear. This is actually semi-gloss clear, like is one option. You have these sort of paint ones, like we have the X22 from Tamiya. We have Mr. Color GX100 is super clear. And then, for example, I also have this one here, which is Tester's Aztec brand. It's the clear gloss as well. I've used this as well. It actually works really well. So what we're going to do is we're going to decide what we're going to use. In my case here, I'll probably just use some Tamiya X22 clear. And we're just going to be going with a light coat. Now what we could do, this is mostly this coat here is mostly for decals. So if I needed to, I could actually take a brush, like a flat brush like this here. This is the Tamiya #2 flat brush. And I could just take some clear that's been thinned, and I could just brush paint it right on to the areas where there's decals or water slide transfers going. And I would just put a coat on and then let it, flatten out or to level out, and then you can, once it's dry, you can apply your decals to those locations wherever you're going to have them on the vehicle. Okay. However, for me, I'm actually going to clear coat the entire vehicle. It also helps. It kind of is almost like a save point, so you kind of save your paint and everything we have up to that point. So I'm gonna go to the spray booth and spray it up, and then we'll come back and we'll look at doing our decals. So here I am at the spray booth. I've got my X22 here. You don't have to worry about shaking it. There's no pigment in there to mix up or anything. I'm just going to take my bottle. I'm going to take a little pipette and take some of the clear. And a little bit more. Just like that. Cap on so I don't knock it over. And then I'll get some of my leveling thinner right here. I don't want to use the rapid thinner. I don't want it to dry too quick. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of mix it 50-50. Just so it's good enough to go through the airbrush without struggling. And then I just kind of mix it up by doing that as well, sucking it into the in and out of the color cup here. So there we have it. That should be good. We'll take our vehicle here. Now, one thing we'll need to do here before we finish is we're going to need to paint things such as right here. These are rubber like mud flaps, and there'll be like I'll be using the dark rubber color for that. There's going to be some color that's going to be needed for the headlights as well as the tail lights at the back. But we are going to right now do the clear coat to kind of save and give us, you know, a nice smooth surface to put the water slide transfers or decals on. So load up the airbrush here like that. Put on my lid. Let's see how this is spraying. Yeah, looks like it's spraying pretty good, but I don't need that much air pressure. Let's turn it down a bit, like that. And just come across, just like that. You can see it's kind of got a nice glossy finish to it. So I'm gonna get my mask on, turn on my filter, and continue clear coating these parts here, okay? I want to make sure I get all around the tank, including underneath and the tracks. Protect it all. It can also help with the weathering that we're going to do in the future. There we go. Now I have this device that I can sit this on. Let it dry. I'll continue on with the turret, and we'll be back when that's all done. So here we are ready to put on our water slide transfers or decals. So the kit comes with a little package here with your decals in it, stapled closed, but I'm gonna instead of pulling the staples, I'm just gonna cut the bag open like that. There we go. And they have a little piece of paper on here to protect the decals from sticking to the plastic and ruining them. So we have some tools here that we're going to be using. I have some scissors for cutting the decals up, a knife just in case I need to, you know, cut anything more or move things around, that it works. Tweezers, which I may or may not use to apply the decals, that are handy to have around. The key ingredient, warm water. This is just tap water that I've, you know, ran until it was warm and then filled up this little dish. And then, optionally, but I highly recommended, is decal setting solutions. Several options I have. There's a lot more than what I have here. This one here is from Tamiya. It's their Mark Fit, and it's used to apply the decals. I would You know, for example, I would take the brush out of the container, brush down the area I'm going to put the decal, put the decals on, and then afterwards I can put that back down, the marked fit on it again to help seal down or settle down the decals. Another option is my standard option here is the two-piece from Microscale, Microset, and Microsol. And they're to be used in that order. You would use the Microset to help put the decal in place. So it takes them on a brush, paint it onto the area, and then put on the decal. Then I would come along after that and put on the Microsol to help it seal down. What this will do is help suck the decal down and put it into the recessed areas. If there's any little recessed areas, such as these panel lines on the side here, anything like that, it will bring it into the low spots and make it look more like it's been painted on. Another example here, I have some Viejo decal fix. I don't really use it. It's it is water based. If you wanted to, I would say this would be one you could more easily just take a regular paintbrush and a palette and use it that way. So I'm going to use the Microset and Sol, which are right here. I'm going to start on my, I think I'm going to start on my lower turret. Now, on the directions here, we had this sheet here with the background information on the vehicle. On the other side here is the painting and marking and painting details. So here it has, F2 and F4, and it tells you which unit it's from and when for both. And then it shows you where each decal should go. Majority of the transfers are all the same between the two vehicles, with obviously the exceptions being the F2 to F4, and then there's also a number on the back here and on the front that actually changes as well because of the vehicle. So, but the rest of them are all the same because it's the same unit. So I'm going to start cutting some decals out and getting them ready to put on, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I do that. So another important detail I forgot is we'll need paper towels here. They're really handy to set the decals on after you pull them out of the water, to let them start coming loose, and then also just take excess water off the model itself. So I'm going to take a brush here, which is also, I guess, another tool I should have mentioned. So I'm just gonna, doesn't really matter what you're using here. I'm just using a Tamiya #2 brush. So if you notice too, there are little numbers here, and they're all over your set of decals. Those are just the number of the decals, so you know which one is telling you, oh, you need number 15. You just go to your sheet, cut out 15, and place it where they're telling you. So I usually will try to get rid of these numbers because they actually will float free and sometimes can end up trapped in your decals. So I'll just cut around it like that. And then just remove it. Then I'm going to take my decal, take my tweezers, drop the decal face down in the water, make sure it gets all wet, and I leave it in there for 10 to 12 seconds or so, approximately. It's just gotta get wet. So we'll bring it back out and set it on my paper towel. Take the number 4 next. I'll cut off that number. Again, just to help me so I don't end up with that number floating around, getting into my decals and making a mess. There we go. So take the 4, face down into the water, and again, that's good. So, with my decal F, I'm gonna just put my thumb on here and just check to see if it's moving yet. Yeah, I can start to wiggle it around on the paper. That means it's pretty much ready to be placed on the model. I can bring my 4 out, put it there, and then take my brush, take some of my micro set. You have to be careful with these bottles. I've knocked them over so many times and wasted so many bottles of this stuff. It does kind of smell like vinegar. Just don't be surprised when that occurs. So I just look at where they want me to put the F for the F4. You can see on this side here you got your big panel, and then you have your next panel, and it looks like it's right on the very further to the rear on that second panel. It's right about there. So you can just put down some of my decal solution, just like that. Take my decal and slide it off into position, just like that. I can use my tweezers just to kind of get it into place, just like that. I can come in, I can, I moved it, but you can kind of push on it to kind of get the water off there. If that happens and you've moved it, don't fear yet. You can still wet it and then remove it now that I've refloated it. So I could also use Q-tips. Again, another handy tool in here that I forgot to mention. Take my tweezers again, place it, and I can just roll like that. There we go. And we'll take our 4. I'll take some more of the micro set. Put it on, just like that. And it slides right off. Really simple. And I'm just going to line it up now. And just by looking, let's look at have it kind of pretty much centered. Not against the panel line here, but centered. So I'll just center it, and then try to keep it at about the same height though as the F. You do have a bit of time to play with these, so it's when you actually put on the microsol, you don't want to move them if you don't have to, because they start to soften and they will start to break up. So again, let's come in here, and remember, if I do accidentally move it, I can refloat it still at this time, and then I can move it again. So we'll take a look. You can see there's our F4 on there. You can see there's a little bit of that carrier film that the decal is attached to, right here in the middle of the F and in the middle of the 4. If you wanted to ahead of time, you could cut that out. But if you treat decals right, you can actually have that decal film not really show up too much. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to close up my micro set so I don't spill it. I'm going to pull out some microsol, which again is the solvent. I'm going to take my brush, just clean it out a bit. Let's load up with the microsol and just give them a bit of a brush over. Oh, see, I floated it. Too much liquid. So I gotta act fast because this stuff will start to dissolve the decal. So again, I'll bring it in, make sure it's kind of at the same altitude, same height as the 4. There we go. I'm going to come across it again. Yeah, see, it's actually moved the 4 as well now. So, just be careful. It's like any liquid will really be able to refloat it. Just be carefully, gently. I think I was going too, well, I thought I was going too hard, but this really wants to move. Let's see if we still can move it. Yep. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these dry in. I'll dry off over here. I'll let them dry in for a bit and I'll come back and check on them. You can see it's starting to wrinkle up already. That's because the microsol is kind of activating against the carrier film and making it want to become more pliable to put into areas. So I'm going to put that away. I'm going to carry on putting the decals on our model here as it's called out for in the instructions. I'll come back and show you that when it's all done. Okay, so here's the next 2 decals ready to go. For example, here I left the little decal numbers on there just to show you that they are pretty free floating and they will come off just like that. So you want to make sure you get rid of them because they can get mixed in with your decal and put stuff where you don't want it. So there we go. It doesn't have any carrier film, so it falls apart really easy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put these in place and move on to the rest of the decals, and I'll see you again soon. Alright, so here I am with all my decals on now. Had to go back through the instructions to make sure that you catch the places where they're telling you to add decals as well. Now that we're at the end, we've gone through and done that. And you can kind of see that I've got, you know, decals on the front of the vehicle. I've got the driver's viewports done. If you can see those kind of dark spots. Of course, the sides, we did some on the back. What else we got? The turret stripes. On the barrel stripes. We've got the panels here. The other viewports and optics as well. So, you know, our F4 here, I think it turned out good. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to kind of try and finish off my painting here by painting some rubber black on these mud flaps here, some silver on the headlights, and then what I'll do for the tail lights is I'll do them silver as well, and then I'll come in with a clear red and put that on top to kind of give it that tail light effect. And then what we can do after that is we can add all our weapons on here, give it a flat coat, and then we'll be done. The only thing left after that will be a little bit of weathering, but that's I think that's going to have to be a separate video. So I'll get those parts painted up and add these other items to the vehicle, and we'll take a look at it when it's all done up. So here we have our completed tank now. So it's all been painted up. I got my rubber black here on the mud guards. I've got some silver in here for the headlights. And I painted the taillights with silver followed by some clear red. Sorry, that's not really in focus. Let's try this. So there we go. You can see those taillights. But the vehicle looks really good. If you wanted to stop at this point, you certainly could. I'm going to come back in the next episode, and I'll show you just a few basic weathering techniques you can use on, armored vehicles and the like. So, Hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care and have yourself a great day.